Is the tricolour being used as a political weapon or simply as an expression of patriotism? I'm joined by Fine Gael TD Barry Ward, Social Democrat TD Gary Gannon and Nick Delehanty, Independent Presidential Hopeful. And Nick, I might start with yourself. I'll ask you about the presidency and what you would hope to do in that regard in just a moment. But the flag issue, I mean, this was raised this week because Dublin City Council were approached by some councillors, for people who don't know, at home, and they were asked about the possibility of removing the tricolour in certain areas where they say it's been used to intimidate new communities. And I understand you have quite a specific suggestion as to how we might approach the flying of the flag in this country.
Yeah, I have a couple of suggestions, but the one you're referring to is, you know, where has this issue happened before and what can we learn from our European colleagues? And the example I use is Denmark. Later I'll describe myself as a Danish Social Democrat, so I always kind of look to Denmark as an example of they do things very well. And at the beginning of this year, after a Supreme Court case about where a man was flying an American flag in Denmark and his neighbour complained that he wasn't flying the Danish flag, which is called the Dannebrog. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that he was perfectly entitled to fly the American flag solo. So the Danish government changed the law. And the current law in Denmark is that if you fly a foreign flag or any flag of ideology, you must fly the Danish flag alongside it and in a position of greater honour, which is on the left as you're looking at it. And so the Danish flag must always be first, highest and last. And I think that's a very good policy. They also enforce very strict, rules and respect around the flag. It can't touch water, must be flown at, between sunrise and sunset and illuminated at night. And we have similar protocols, but the protocols don't go as far as these laws. And we certainly don't have the requirement to fly alongside.
Yeah, so I have here a statement actually that's about your performance here tonight, written in advance, kind of bizarrely. But anyway, you talk about these laws in Denmark. The laws dictate that the Danish flag can only be flown from sunrise to sunset or illuminated at night. Yes. That's wrong. That's a protocol or a tradition in Denmark. That's not actually part of the new legislation that was passed on foot of that Supreme Court bill.
Well, we have the protocol. No,
I know we have the protocol, but you quite clearly say the laws, and you said it there a moment ago, the laws dictate the flag can only be flown from sunrise to sunset. That's wrong. It's actually not the law in Denmark. Then you go on to say that the law dictates the flag must always be treated with respect, never touching the ground or used disrespectfully. That's wrong as well. It's a protocol and a tradition. You're perfectly entitled.
Legally, it was passed.
You obviously didn't read the legislation. You maybe read some newspaper article about it.
The overall point here is that
Nick, the overall point is that you quite clearly stated that there are laws in Denmark that exist that we should ape. You wrote a press release about your performance here tonight in advance of your performance, and you detailed those laws, and the laws don't exist. In Denmark, it's legally perfectly fine to toss the Danish flag on the floor and set it on fire. That is not against the law. You say here it would be against the law. You say foreign national flags may not be flown alone. They must always fly with the Danish flag, which takes place of honour. Now, you're partially right on that.
That is the law. That is the
on flagpoles. On flagpoles only. You can fly them off telegraph poles, off lampposts, off your balcony, at your window, off your car, at the end of a bamboo stick at a protest, any flag you want. You didn't say that. On flagpoles, certain flagpoles in certain buildings are exempt and certain flags are exempt. Doesn't apply if it's the Finnish flag, if it's a Swedish flag, if it's a Norwegian flag, if it's a German flag, if it's a UN flag. Your final point, organisational or cause flags such as Pride or the EU are permitted, but always alongside and secondary to the Danish flag. Also not true. The EU flag is an exemption to that.
I was about to make the point as well that we should be looking to Denmark to get part of those excluded flags. The Irish flag, we should build a relationship with Denmark to try and become one of these Nordic countries that has the exemption. I hadn't finished my point here.
Sorry,
wait 1 second.
These laws dictate. These laws dictate. Those laws don't exist, Nick.
1 second. This is... The laws have been changed at the start of the year. They are very precise. They have the strictest flag laws in the world.
Well, that may be true, but you've gone above and beyond in terms of describing what those laws include. They don't include most of the things you suggested there.
The Danish...
It's fine to suggest we follow the Danish model, but be honest about people what the Danish model is. The Danish model applies to flagpoles only and in very strict circumstances. Nothing to do with sunrise to sunset or touching the ground or anything like that. They're actually the exact same as us in those areas in terms of having a protocol.
Yeah, OK, but we do not have the exact same respect of the Irish flag as they do in Denmark. And we are not championing the Irish flag to the same extent they are in Denmark. And that is the overall point, that we must look to Denmark to see what they're doing. They have national pride in their flag. And at the moment, we're having a national conversation on national media about how people are hijacking or abandoning the Irish flag. And I'm saying that's totally wrong. We must have respect for the flag. Whether it's a law or protocol, you're picking at hairs here, because the overall sentiment in Denmark is completely different to how we are doing it here in Ireland at the moment. Yes, we have a protocol, but it is not being pushed to the fore and enforced, and we should be looking to enact these laws. Let's look at the other point I also make, is that we have an awful lot of different flags in circulation in Irish culture at the moment, right? We have the Palestinian flag, we have the LGBT pride flag. And when I see the LGBT flag, I voted for marriage equality, I'm all for it. But it was the Irish country, the Irish nation, that was the first country in the world to vote for marriage equality. Right? So when you fly a pride flag, you should be flying the tricolour alongside it in recognition that Irish people were the ones that promoted the pride flag first. With the Palestinian flag, we are the only country that is promoting this occupied territories bill, whether you're for it or against it or not, but we are. When you're flying the Palestinian flag, you should be promoting the Irish flag as well. I believe in Irish exceptionalism, and that is the Irish exceptionalism culture that we should be looking to protect.
You know, Denmark have had a Palestinian National Flag Day.
Yeah, they have lots of national flag days. That's also part of my point. We should look to have more national flag days, not just St. Patrick's Day. They do it around national holidays, memorials, royalty days. I know all that. OK, again, you're just proving my point that what they're doing, we should probably be looking to emulate.
Gary, should we always have the tricolour alongside the pride flag, wherever it's flown?
Wherever the tricolour is flown alongside the pride flag. I remember being in City Hall, Dublin Castle, the day of the marriage equality referendum, and actually it was just, there was tricolours everywhere. You know, that was a day that people showed up in Ireland to vote for a country, that they vote for something that they felt would make their country better, and the manifestation of that was people waving the tricolour. I have a huge amount of pride in their tricolour. I think when the Young Ireland movement in the 1840s developed the concept of the green, white and the orange, it was precisely because to bring communities together in conflict. I mean, when it enacted over the GPO in 1916, that very same reasoning applied. So I understand the debate is because the tricolour is now being weaponised. And there's a playbook here. We see it in the UK. There's a small number of people who want to raise the tricolour in the hope that people like me or city councils will tell them to take it down. They say, look, they're disrespecting the flag. You know, actually, that's not my position. I'd love to see it more. We'll raise the flag, keep it up there. Don't let anybody write in the flag. If anyone's writing language, you'll take it down. But actually, let's have pride in the flag. We have a presidential election coming up in the next 2 months. In the lead up to that, why doesn't everybody get the flags up? Take back the flag. I'd love to see our flag. I've seen it flying at hurling games or for special moments. I think we should take back our flag. Take back from those which use it for a purpose for which it was never intended, which was division. That flag was designed to bring people together. Let's get it back up in the air again and take it back.
So a version of the best way to hide a tree is in a forest.
Absolutely.
Just have more flags everywhere and you won't notice the communities that put them up for
Absolutely. Put it up there as a
reasons.
source of pride. Let people put videos up there. Tell them why this flag means something to them. Let's all once again, just have a sense of ownership for it. That way it cannot be manipulated by those very tiny forces that are using a playbook here. And let's not give in to, let's not follow what they intend us to do.
Barry, it would be mental if Dublin City Council started taking down tricolours, wouldn't it?
I share Gary's pride in the flag, and I like to see the tricolour flying. The ironic thing is that it's a symbol of unity, coexistence, and you know, cooperation between two traditions in this island. So it's ironic then that some people try to use it as something that's divisive. It isn't. What I think is funny is that in my area, I know a lot of naturalised Irish people, new Irish citizens who fly the tricolour as well because they're proud of their Irishness. So I don't like to see it used divisively, but I don't either think that it's necessarily a good use of resources to be going around taking them either. And I don't agree that you need to legislate for that. It certainly shouldn't be a criminal offence to do it or anything like that. it's difficult to legislate for respect. And that's really what we're talking about. Respect for your neighbours, respect for your community, respect for the flag and the nation and what it represents, because it belongs to us all. And it should never be used
It also belongs to those people, though, who are erecting it, as some might suggest, in kind of nefarious ways or for negative reasons. And they're perfectly entitled to suggest that the flag represents something different to them, and they can put it up wherever they want.
I don't know.
There's a sense of kind of gatekeeping about what the flag represents.
The flag belongs to all of us in Ireland, all Irish people.
Including people who say,
them,
you know what, I preferred my community when it was white and Irish.
I don't get to decide that the Irish tricolour means something different to what it actually means. I don't get to use it to distinguish me. And it's something that always makes me smile almost when you see certain groups wrapping themselves in the tricolour as if that distinguishes themselves from everybody else in Ireland who owns the tricolour equally. It belongs to all of us. It should be treated with respect, of course it is, but let's not get out of kilter with what is actually being done here. Let's not blow this out of proportion, because you're also feeding into what some people want you to feed into.
Do you think then those councillors who made this request of Dublin City Council, that they've blown this a little out of proportion?
I think they may well have played into the hands of the people who are trying to stir up a reaction to it. People are entitled to fly the tricolour. We should be proud when they do. It's a symbol for all of us.
But I think people are overly determining why people are flying the flag. People are saying that it's for division. I tried to think that maybe it's a cry for help. Okay, why are they doing this? What are they trying to say? It's because they feel left behind, and there's a sense of unease around the conversations of immigration, integration and rapid social change. And when people feel that they're not being heard by local councils or government or whatever it is, they turn to the flag and they're saying, we are here, we matter, we're Irish. And I think that...
Yeah, Nick, I think if that was the case, I would absolutely believe you were correct in that instance. But we know some of the people who are flying these flags are not of the communities in which are going in and placing the flags. That's the reason why councillors are getting emails saying overnight flags that went up. We would have seen some of the individuals involved who are posting them. They're the same people that are outside reception centres, the same people that are going into libraries and threatening staff. Look, I absolutely believe that was the viewpoint from the ground up. But I know these people, I know these communities. The same communities that went out, voted overwhelmingly for marriage equality, voted overwhelmingly for repeal, have been welcoming to migrants since I remember the first migrants coming to the inner city from Kosovo in the 90s. These are the same communities that have always been welcoming. I'm not going to let you say that these small, tiny little groups who have an agenda are representative of the communities, because actually, whenever they've put themselves in front of the communities, they've been rejected.
But the way I like to see it is that there is so much resources. People say it's the far right. The Taoiseach has a comment out tonight saying it's far right, and I reject that. I say that it's working class. It's mostly working class communities where these issues are happening.
You're now doing exactly what you're complaining about other people doing. You're ascribing meanings to what people are doing.
This is the point. Like these centres that are going in. Do you have any involvement in any of these centres or any family that work for them?
Yeah, my younger brother used to work in Northern and East Wales. That's well documented.
Yeah,
and he actually done an amazing job there.
So
I won't let anybody
make
a shame my family for being involved.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I was very proud of the work he done there.
The point of that, right? That company got paid 27 million euros last year, and it is owned by an offshore Isle of Man company. And that company is taking all that money and is not paying taxes back in the local community. And today in Stoneybatter, there was a creche that was closed down for its afternoon services, and it was in a building that was owned by Dublin City Council. So if I see... one second. All these...
Nick,
I'm getting to the point.
Yeah.
The point is that there's all this money...
I'm not sure what the connection to flags here is.
There's all this money flowing into one aspect of the Department of Children, which was the department that oversaw all this. And we're neglecting creches and other supports for actual children. And this has just happened today. So this is the contrast I'm making. But my point is that we're putting far too much resources.
So you think part of the reason that the flags have gone up is because some of the companies that run iPad centres are headquartered offshore and the government is not funding creches?
Yes, I think there is a lack of focus on what actually to help Irish families. We're not putting families first. The fact that all this money went through the Department of Children is insulting to young families, okay? Another creche in my area closed down this month as well, in Ranelagh. And I'm saying the point is that we're not putting nowhere near the same amount of money and funding into what actually does support families on the ground. And people make the contrast. If you don't think every single person knows how much money these companies are making, you're wrong, because they do, and they feel totally aggrieved by this. Okay, and my point is, we got to engage with these people. The Tanish's comment of calling them far right, you got to engage with these people and talk to them. If you're going to accuse them of saying that, oh, they're racist, the only cure to bad speech is better speech.
Yeah, but to defend the Taoiseach for a moment, and it's not often I do it, but
You should try more often.
I would suggest he wasn't calling the entire community far right. He was suggesting there's a far right element orchestrating the erection of the flags.
I wish he would have made it clear, like you called me up on specifics earlier on. He didn't make that specific, because that is an important.
But would you accept that there's an orchestrated far right element to the erection of these flags in certain communities? Like you're suggesting the exact same thing. It's not the far right. It's all of this working class expression of frustration about the iPad system.
I don't know enough of the people that are leading, like actually physically putting them up. I'm just talking.
So how do you know it's about frustration to do with iPad centres?
The people that agree with it. Like when on Monday morning the headline went out on RTE that they're taking down Irish flags. I got a lot of texts from people that aren't really involved in politics, wouldn't really look, and they're like, what is going on? But it's such a bad look to be taking down Irish flags.
But they're not taking them down at the moment, and I hope they don't.
We called in for a Garda inquiry.
Absolutely, so Dublin City Council. So those councillors of Dublin City Council, they are representatives of the same community that you're trying to give voice to, and I'd say incorrectly. They're receiving emails from their constituents saying, look, this is a cause for concern because I've opened my door and this has been what I found outside it. So they're public representatives representing the view. You're sitting here talking about something you don't know about.
Flags, would there be any concerns? Would there be any sense that this is marginalising anyone that's not bright? Like, I just think that people... it's not that the tricolour has been hijacked. I feel that people have abandoned it. The establishment party's government have abandoned it, and they openly claim. You've had talks on your show saying, "How do we get it
Nick,
back?"
You're talking about hijacking.
My opening suggestion about Denmark was that's the playbook to how to get it back.
Barry, should we do what the Danes have done? I mean, listen, I accused Nick of gilding the lily, and I think he did in terms of this statement and what he claimed. But it's certainly true that they have more robust laws around the flying of the flag than we do. Well, they have actual laws. We just have protocols.
No, I don't want to see a set of laws around how flags should be flown or should not be flown. The consequence of which will be that if somebody does it wrong or incorrectly, that they end up in a criminal prosecution. I don't think that's helpful. I do absolutely support respect for the flag, and has been acknowledged, although this has been something of a circular discussion, what has been acknowledged is that we do have those. There's actually a whole book called An Bratacht Náisiúnta, which details all of the protocols and all the things you should do when you're flying the national flag. If people choose to disregard that, it's disrespectful, it's wrong. Should it be illegal or criminal? I actually don't think so. And I don't think that would be an effective use of the Gardaí to be chasing down those offences, or the courts to be prosecuting those offences. We have enough work to be doing in that area.
Do you think that this is simply a far-right campaign to make certain people feel unwelcome in communities? Or is there an element, as Nick suggests, of frustration from working-class neighbourhoods about underfunding while money is flowing into the private hands of iPads operators?
I mean, I don't know why every single tricolour that's been put up around the country has been put up. But if I were frustrated with the system, how does flying a tricolour, which belongs to all of us in Ireland, every Irish person and every person living here, how does flying a tricolour express my frustration, distinguish me for anything else, or do anything that would solve that problem?
Because it's their last option. If you take...
Whose last option are you talking about? If you're giving voice to working class communities, you know them.
I'm about
that
to tell
creche
you.
you spoke about. Did you meet the people in that creche before
I only learned about it today.
So you brought them to the tea. So you
I read about it in the paper today.
Because I've read them several times.
I'm sure I've read about it.
So you talk about hijacking. So you talk about working class communities. Do you know any of them?
That's not my constituency.
No, but you're giving voice to them.
In the reference I made to the one in Ranelagh, yes, I've got that's Nest.
No, you made a reference to one in Stoneybarrow. Have you gone and talked to them?
No, I've read about it in the paper today. Okay, and what's going on there?
When you equate an issue with another issue...
Why isn't there 22 million euros going to creches in your community? Why isn't there 22 million euros?
That would be fantastic.
It would be. And why aren't you calling for it? I'm calling for that.
I have been campaigning against direct revision for 20 years, Nick. 20 years we've been campaigning against direct revision. We've been asking for the implementation of the Catherine Day report, which called for state-run reception centres. Have you?
Yes, I've been calling it out consistently.
No, I know.
Yeah, I think for what it's worth, I think it's also government policy to stop paying private operators, which is ultimately why they tried to buy City West, and people protested against that as well.